I have a rendezvous with death. At some disputed barricade. It may be he shall take my hand and lead me into his dark land and close my eyes and quench my breath. I have a rendezvous with death. And I to my pledged word am true. I shall not fail that rendezvous.
All right, everything should be unmuted. Welcome everyone. Very special episode today. A complete, not a complete, but half the Init, or kind of half the Init FC team that I convinced to get on today. But first of all, I should warn you guys, because if actually stuff kicks off in Delve today, I would say at least one or two of us would have to drop out. I'm probably gonna stay here. I'm guessing Shines would drop out, and maybe if you need some help, one or two more of us would drop out, and take care of business. But just to get that out of the way, just in case, you never know. Maybe Willy is listening. You never know. I would have loved to get the entire FC team on, but that would have been a little bit much, right? I think not only do we have the biggest FC team ever in it, also I think the best FC team, just like quality wise. And there's like people missing, just to name a few. Bonga, right? I talked to him before, but there's always the time zone issue. He's an Aussie, right? Oh no, he's a New Zealander. I always make fun of him.
God damn! I hope somebody got that recording.
He's a New Zealander. I always make fun of him for being an Aussie. But then we've got people like Minnie and Piercy and VHSler, for example. VHSler might not be an FC, but like big part of the FC team. So like it would be so many people. I just asked a couple guys and they all said yes right away. So that's the 4 guys you get today. And obviously you have me and Miranda today again. And Miranda's going to take care of chat and keep track of stuff. So if you have good questions, guys, put them in there and we might just ask them. And then for all non-Init listeners, I guess the Init guys all know like who these guys are, obviously. But I guess for the non-Init guys, I should like give a super short introduction of like what these guys do. I mean, we have the FC cards, so you can kind of tell, I guess. For example, shvo, roaming, FC, and hunter. But I wrote at least like a super short intro for all of them. So let's start with Shines. Shines has been on, I don't know, 3 times, 4 times, I don't know, several times before. He has taken on the role of lead, alliance lead, I think in the last year, like slowly but surely, right? Has always been one of the main FCs. And yeah, I think most people are pretty aware who Shines is. Then we've got WakingTea. WakingTea has, I would say, during the war, like worked himself up from just being a super helpful guy, like lighting signals, having shit ready and all that stuff, to actually like FCing more for himself, like, by himself. And actually is what we call now a tactical FC in it. Like we have different levels. We might just talk about that later on. Which I feel like it was a very natural progression, like FC wise. And his like number one focus, I would say, is like more the supportive role. Then we've got Shvo. I've talked about Shvo a couple times on streams, on normal like FC chats and stuff. He is actually the guy who is mostly responsible for Inet's hunting activity right now. Like, it's almost like I'm not even needed anymore for that, which is, it's like, it's good, but a little sad too. But whenever you get hunted by Inet, you're in a Loca, it's probably Shvo's doing. He has been super active also in the last year, I would say. And then the fourth guest today is going to be Loca. And I always call him Fappy because Loca always sounds like local, which is like what we, when you talk to each other in like in the FC comms, right? You would say local and then blah, blah, blah. So I call him Fappy. He has been on before, and that's 1.5 years ago. And he was a wormholer at the time, believe it or not. And because we like, we had a good time talking, shortly after, maybe a couple of months later, maybe 2 or 3 months later,
I think
right?
maybe even 1 month. It might be that close.
Yeah, he come with me and said like, hey, I kind of want to get into nullsec. How about I join your corp? My corp is German, but we made an exception. And ever since he joined and did a 180 kind of when it comes to FCing, like, or FC style, I guess. And maybe that's actually a good point to start, because I think it's that's a bit like difficult. Maybe not difficult, but it definitely is different. To change from wormhole space to nullsec. So like, maybe you want to start with that. Like, how did you like get into FCing in null space? And how has it been for you?
It's been wild. Don't know if anybody's noticed, but a war has started recently, and that has been quite the introduction to nullsec. But it's kind of weird to be a wormholer when you're looking at nullsec, because you look at nullsec, you just see so many numbers out there, and dealing with everything that you had to do in wormholes, everything is so small and everybody knows each other. Everybody knows every individual corporation and lots of different members within them. And when you're in wormholes and you're dealing with that and you're out there roaming, and you get used to this sort of being you're a small guy, you go in there, you do damage, and you get out as quickly as you can, and that's how it rolls. Unless you're doing one of these big, heavy armor brawls, which sometimes come around but very rarely come around, which can be quite fun too. They're probably closer to nullsec style of fleets, I'd say. But there's always that thought in the back of your mind. It's like, I wonder what would happen if I went to nullsec. I wonder how, like, you as an FC, you look at yourself and you think, okay, would I be able to do it? Would I be able to deal with these numbers? Would I be able to coordinate on this level? You get to use.
How about getting dropped on and stuff, right?
Yeah, getting dropped on, that happens all the time. Like when you're a wormhole, that's usually the end of the fleet, and quite often in nullsec, that's the start of the fleet. So, it's a very different approach. But the thing that I've noticed is similar is people management. It happens on a larger scale in null, I think, especially in terms of like the fleets and so on, and also that like behind the scenes, so much happens. I don't think people truly understand just how much work people put in behind the scenes, and there is some really, really good, people behind every alliance that's making it tick over, and they deserve all the credit in the world, because we get to go out there and get the limelight a little bit as FCs, but those guys are making it work. In wormholes, you don't get as many of those people, so you end up sort of taking more of that responsibility yourself. And one of the things that you can do in null is it's a much nicer environment to be an FC, I think, because you can just focus on what you want to focus on and doing that to the best of your ability. And that is, that has been something that's really motivated me to play again a lot, and has probably been like a lot of the focus on what I want to do in EVE. And and then once you get started, the momentum gets going, and before you know it, you're just scaling up the amounts of fleets that you want to do.
And what I always wonder is, like, homeowners always like to talk about the quality, we just got the best pilots and stuff. Like, is that the case?
No.
Or is it? You don't think so?
They're the best pilots in their chair, as everybody is. But
Yeah, very, very true, I guess.
a wormholer's experience of nullsecers when nullsec tried to fight back is either dropping on them with thousands of people, or jumping into a wormhole and having no idea how the mechanics work. So you get a very limited view of like what nullsecers can do. But then when it's hard to describe, but when you go out there and you start working alongside these guys, and when I start working alongside yourself and Shines and the Strat FCs and just in general trying to do some of the, we've done some crazy shit in it. Like I think everybody who's online here right now has really been like a part of something that they could say, "Holy shit, what was that we just did?" And you can't do that without having skill. Like for example, the Ghost Bomb. The YouTube video Ghost Bomb 003, I think it is.
Yeah.
That took so much prep and doing, but nothing like that happens in wormholes. Nothing to that level happens in wormholes. As much as people would like to think it doesn't really.
Yeah, that one was good fun. I might just play the video. I think I've got it on my drive still. I might just play that at the end. But yeah, like what's a what the fuck moment that you had, like where you like, or maybe the other guys, where you were like, holy shit, we're doing some cool shit. Like, was there, like, do you guys have one?
I made porridge this morning.
The other guys, how about shvo? Come on, shvo, what's the coolest shit you experienced?
The coolest shit I experienced? I have no idea. I mean, the best part of the game was when I started, I guess. When you see all that new shit, which you can't believe. Like, for example, the first time I seen Erebus, I think. I was like, what the fuck is that flying station, And
That's so cute.
Yeah, all that path, no. It's just something, the new player experience, and when you get used to that, it's just, I couldn't get anything crazy, I guess, that I done.
The little shvo instantly think, oh, like, what's that station? And then I want to kill it. I was little shvo just more like, I want to fly it.
No, I wasn't that excited. I mean, I don't get excited too often. It's just something I do, but
I think.
But yeah, time passes by and you want to kill shit. So
when somebody comes in and sees the stuff that actually happens in Eve, and you take a step back and appreciate the scale of what goes on, it can be pretty amazing, I think.
Yeah, you know what? I watched a video yesterday, I think, and it was like a big streamer. Most people would probably be aware, Summit 1G, and he was getting on a server. I don't even know. It's Final Fantasy, I believe. I'm not sure what the fucking game even is. But the point was, there was like a shit ton of people, and it was like maybe 50 guys, 100 guys, and they prepared all kinds of stuff, for him, like some kind of parade when he like arrived or some shit, right? And I was like, that's pretty, like, we do that all the time in Eve, we're that organized. We could do that all the time. And he was like mind blown. It's, it gives you an idea, like, how like organized people are in this game. I mean, we had a lot of time to get organized, right? So
yeah,
that probably plays a big role there. But it's still the scale is still like there's no other game that can do this, and where it feels real. Obviously you can have some artificial kind of stuff where like the game like kind of dictates it, but that's luckily not what Eve does at the moment. I hope we never get there, right? But yeah,
I mean, I'd say one of the cool things that I was doing. I mean, it was when we were down in Impasse, and and it's largely a EU time zone alliance, and our US time zone had gotten a little bit smaller. But the guys really stepped up. Like, I know that there were a bunch of FCs. We kind of mapped out what we wanted to do. But I remember, I think we killed like 4 or 5 faction forts in a night, killing 4 other forts and like 2 Asbels or something. It was just a lot of great work by a lot of dudes in Eve that were putting in some time. So it was pretty awesome.
Yeah, I always like it when when suddenly people step up and you can tell, like, oh, there's a new guy who's taken over now, like, who wants to get stuff done. A good example for that is, for example, Alduin, right? He's a little spurty boy, but when he wants to get stuff done, he just buys some shit and like hands stuff out and gets stuff done. And we like, I always like to see that when people just go out and do stuff, because if you think about it, that's why we need that big of a FC team too, I think, because there's so many different roles that need to be filled, right? Like Shines, he's taking care of the Discord, he's taking care of like all kinds of like IT stuff together with Aaron, right? Shout out to Aaron, who's still like helping us a lot with IT shit. But then doing every little bash of every little citadel and reinforcing every IOP and every jump bridge and every this and every, it's just not possible, right? So you need a big team, and everyone just like kind of has to find their roles a little bit, which is like, I think in my eyes at least, which is the most interesting part about the whole thing, is like to have like a team and everyone does their thing. And it works out, in our case at least, right? It doesn't always work out. Sometimes I'm surprised how well it works out, right? Am I the only one? Or,
I think it can be a big hit and miss sometimes, like, because I think with Eve, any team that you put together, it's not like you go into a job, into a company where your role is X, Y, and Z. Like in Eve, the situation changes every day. Like, you as a team, you might be doing something on a Monday, and then on a Tuesday, completely different. So it's like hard to settle into a routine, which I think can cause issues. But sometimes it just gets right. Like, and like we've had it before. We've never had like a massive FC team. It's just never really worked out. But this time it seems to have worked out. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that might just be one of the biggest challenges for FCs, to find their role. And we should talk about that, because I'm not sure if you even put that out to the FC team, or if you just told me, or I don't even know where I, like, if I read it in a channel or whatever. But you said you wanted to rework the FC structure in it, right?
Yeah.
And it wasn't, I mean, when we talked about that, it was less about the FC structure. And for those who are not aware, like, obviously most people are probably not aware. So we have, 5 levels? We have strategic FCs, that's basically super cap guys. We've got tactical FCs, that's basically capital guys. We have skirmish FCs, that is basically all kinds of subcaps. Yeah, basically, yeah. Then we have roaming FCs, that's like subcaps, but don't bring out shiny max to every roam, that's kind of the deal. And then we have like FC recruits, right? People who want to FC and just take out something. They have a variety of like doctrines that are SRPable, right? So that's the structure. And so you said you want to rework it, but then also, like, I thought, do we have to rework it? But what you said was you want people, or you want people to understand more that not everyone should strive for being a strategic FC, because that's kind of what a structure like that promotes, right? So everyone comes in as a FC recruit or roaming FC and thinks, all right, I'm gonna go to skirmish, then tactical, and then I'm gonna be a strat FC. But at the same time, like, you shouldn't really aim for that, right? Everyone should find their role. And if you're the best roaming FC ever, you shouldn't FC like caps all day. You should just focus on roaming. Like, for example, Shvo, roaming FC and Hunter. That's all he does. And that's why he's so good at it, right? To now tell Shvo, like, hey, you have to do those strat ups and you have to ref this region, and like, Shvo's not gonna be happy about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same.
Shvo learned that lesson already,
Yeah, well, technically I got promoted to skirmish FC, I have no interest in that.
Yeah,
Basically,
so
I left like impasse and shit, took caps and max and all that stuff, but it's not my style,
the
So
thing,
I think as a roaming FC,
yeah, so the thing is what I just said, right? You already know what you want to do, right? If you weren't sure, you would maybe think, okay, I should be doing this now, right? But you already know you want to do this, and then yes, you skirmish FC. Like we could even say you could be a tactical FC. It wouldn't change anything, right? You would still do what you prefer, what you're best at, and therefore the best use for the alliance, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's why I hate people who only want titles, just to have that title.
Yeah, and
I think that's like you see this in, well, at least in Ireland. I know the education system is very much like this, where it's a fixed curriculum. These are the subjects. Everybody has to do them. Like some people, like I had a friend in school who was shit at school, but if you put him in front of a car, he would take apart the engine and put it back together without needing to look at anything. So people have different skill sets, and trying to force people into like a static structure doesn't always work, because you need to find what people want to do, what they're good at, and try promote that instead of trying to promote a title.
Yeah. So, but when you said you want to rework the FC structure, you were more talking about the perception of the structure than the structure itself, right? But how do you rework that? I was like, well, yeah, I agree with the with the point you made, but like, how do we do this? Like, how do we ingrain it in everyone that everyone should just be happy with like what they're best at and just do that? I don't know.
Yeah, I have no idea. I say a lot of shit, but I don't have anything to back them up.
I mean, that's what happens a lot of time, right? Where like either I've got an idea or you've got an idea, and I just throw it out there and then see like if you guys get excited about it and you're like, oh fuck, that's awesome, then there might be something to it. And if you guys are like, what the fuck, like it's complete garbage, then it might just be garbage, right? So
Yeah,
maybe that was one of those moments. I don't know. I
but
just remembered it.
I think it's good to think about all this stuff, because like it's just like, can stuff be improved? And usually, yes, it can always be improved.
Yep.
Yeah, that's something I've actually noticed specific to in it as well, is that we tend to push the boundaries of everything. Like we're like, okay, can that be better? Can that be better? We're never like settled with a certain thing and say, okay, this is working. We're just going to keep doing that. Like we do it with doctrines as well. Like some people ask about like why do we have so many doctrines and all these kinds of things. It's because we're trying to find what is the best possible counter to something that's happening on Eve right now. Right? We're not looking for a counter. We're looking to do something that is so good. And then when it comes to people as well, there's something to really be said for specialization and just putting people in their best roles that they love to do, because then they continue to improve and improve and improve. And then that makes you perform better as a team when everybody's in that situation and they're all contributing in their own way. So it's kind of cool that in it is always pushing out there, and that you guys are actually having these ideas too of like, okay, how do we rework this? How do we make this better? Because that I feel like that dissipates through the entire alliance. To be honest, like as someone who's recently, I use the quotations, worked my way up. It's not really like that. It's a bit different to that, but seeing it from different perspectives, that seems to be consistent all the way through, which is pretty cool.
You mean like changing the Ishtar fit 3 times in a week?
Yeah, or like moving the max to in here, then to Curse, and then back to.
You know what?
Yeah, but that's the good part, no one's getting better flying Ishtars 24/7, and that's why I like the in a theory crafting team. Keep doing shit, keep changing, keep adapting, and trying to get F1 guys interested. Just fucking unhurrying and unions and bashing shit, which is boring. You have to admit that. I don't know how. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I mean, I agree. It's like a great way to get engagement just across the alliance, because everybody enjoys, putting in that Estamil's, dreadnought when they first start the game. And, that doesn't go away. Everybody loves to keep playing around with fittings. And so, having folks in the alliance do it, having the FCs do it, it's a great way to kind of build that interactivity.
You know what? I would argue though, there's a limit to doctrines. Like I like it clean. Like I lose. I'm not ashamed to admit it, but I lose my overview sometimes. Be it the ping channels, like we've got so many ping channels, or be it the core channels. I suck at that too. Or like be it just too many fits, like what do we have where and all that stuff. It's like, oh my god, it can be overwhelming, and it can be overwhelming for me who's playing very actively. But then it can be like, it's probably even more overwhelming for like someone who plays a little bit more casually, someone who just wants to join fleets and stuff. Like he never has the right ships ready and all that stuff. So like I feel like there's an advantage to it, but there's also a limit, right? Like we shouldn't go overboard. And we did go overboard at times, right? Like at times we had just too much shit, too many stagings too, right? Sometimes we
I was
go
like
overboard.
4 stagings and 80 different fits that we're trying to rotate through.
Yeah.
And
personally, I don't see a problem with any of that. But
okay, but like for the F1 pushers, we're like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah. And then there is a limit, right? We always try to find that balance. And we're getting better with it too, so we can push a little bit more, right? We start with 1 or 2 stagings, and then after a while you had like a 3rd staging going on, and then 3 stagings, not that bad, and then we have a 4th one going on. It's like, and everyone else is just having 1 staging, right? Which is obviously a little easier to control and organize.
Yeah, it's insane, especially when you see the people with 1 staging are still struggling to manage it, and then we're reading their pings like, holy shit, I wish I had that problem.
Yeah, I mean, I always dream of like having all my shit in one place. Like at some point.
Oh my god!
I remember the first time when we took Fountain, and we had no other staging. It was just Fountain. I mean, we had Couriers. I didn't want to count it. Some Care Bears were in Couriers, but all my shit was in one place. I was like, this is great. Right? So I don't remember the last time. No, that must have been the last time that we had only 1 staging. Oh, almost 1.
Yeah,
but
but
we only have 1
thankfully,
staging now, really.
Yeah, actually, that's probably
we have GO and Umon.
Well, that's
And
true.
3
3 stagings.
Yeah, it's like,
yeah,
we forgot 2 stages. Like, what the fuck?
So 3 stagings is nothing to us. That's why you got on.
Yeah, and then we've got YZ also, right? We're very aware there's a lot of shit in YZ. Yeah, so technically we have kind of 4 stagings.
Probably could count Jita. I mean,
Jita.
I mean, yeah, because
GO. I said.
Oh no, I said Jita, but I just said it with a very heavy accent.
Oh.
All right. But yeah. So doctrines. So if the entire FC team in it would only, like everyone would only be allowed to fly 1 doctrine for the rest of his or her days, what would people fly? What would be, like, shvo would be flying fucking Draco X, right? What would Shines be flying? Oh, shvo, do you disagree? Or would you switch to regions?
Okay, case, it depends. The only reason I have Dracovax is because of the time zone issue. Like, I used to hunt before downtime, and if you try to 4 minutes before downtime, before we had Tickle guys joining it was a pain in the ass, like, 15 dudes. You can't do shit with the 15 kikis. That's why I got a personal stash of Dracovax, and 15 Dracovax can do shit apparently.
Yeah, surprisingly, like, a lot. What about Shines? So shvo, you say Dracovax, or if you have the numbers, kikis, yeah?
Yep.
What about Shines?
Does it depend on me winning every time?
It depends on, like, you're stuck with it till the rest of your days, and you have to fly that 1 doctrine for the rest of your time. What would it be?
Ishtars.
Would it be Ishtars?
Yeah.
That's kind of interesting. Why shield Ishtars? Because they trade well against other hacks, and they can always do something.
It's It's a nostalgia thing, I think. Like we flew Ishtars we flew Shield Ishtars back
when everyone
in,
did.
yeah, it was back 2013. But we never done the drone assist on the Ishtars. We treated them like any other ship, where you had to it wasn't just easy mode, assign drones to the FC, and we were very conscious about that at the time because it's a way to get your fleet super bored, like just be an extension of the
True.
FC, with drones assigned. So I don't know. I those were probably some of the most fun brawly fleets that we've had in Ishtars. If the drones didn't bug out the way they have been recently, I would really enjoy them a lot more. But like having 100 Ishtars in fleet and seeing like this all powerful Munin fleet jump into you and just see the Claymore blink out of existence in the first 4 seconds, and then
DPS
see the
is
next
fucking nice.
Claymore blink out of existence 8 seconds later is just insane. It's a lot of fun. It's a shotgun build. It's just glass cannon shotgun. It's fun.
Like people talk about like Ishtar Online. It was like one of those metas like back then. I never hated that. I always thought Ishtars were always way more interesting than Munins are, for example, because Ishtars, the tracking on those sentries is not insane. It's not like the tracking on Munins. So you can counter that. You have to always think on another dimension, really, because you drop your drones, right? Where do you drop your drones? And like, do you drop them in a bunch? Do you drop them spread out? Without the relative war, or like without the formations, you really had to think about how do you land and spread them out quick enough and all that stuff, right? And then
I
all these little things.
I remember fights against was it not Gentleman's Club? Was it Gentleman's Club?
I think
G
so.
Club.
Yeah.
Where they would fly Ishtars and we would be outnumbered. Like they'd have 140 and we'd have maybe 120. All right, and you're going to lose that DPS race. But there was always these things like False would be the main anchor, and then I would be left to target call in peace, and then you'd have Amelia like flying a hick to make sure nobody could get on top of you to tackle you.
Yeah.
And just the general positioning around the drones where you drop sentries, like, okay, drop one bouncer now, drop another bouncer now, so that they couldn't just be bombed off when you did in the fleet formations. And I remember one fight in particular where, I don't know if you remember him, Pando, Albertus, the Simi guy, from the Spanish guy, he was like a Logi Anchor god. He came up in at around that time, and we took on like 160 Ishtars versus 120. I think we killed 45 Ishtars and we lost 6 or something. It was just insane.
Yeah, I might not remember that particular fight. I remember one of the videos though when we fought them, and I remember us talking about it. If we jump in, I forgot. We got under their sentry tracking, right? We dropped ours, but they took range, and then we got under their sentries, and then just went like fucking crazy on them.
Yeah, I mean,
good times.
With Munins, like you can align to the sun, prop mod on, and then just shoot stuff. You don't have to worry too much about anything else. Like it's a very basic example, but was with Ishtars and stuff like that, it's a lot more complicated.
Also, what I remember back then, what we always did, like even back when we fought in like what is that, 2014 or whatever, in Esoteria against like Darkness of Despair and those guys. I don't even know what year that was, but we always had like enough room for like special shit, for little teams doing other stuff. For example, in those Ishtar fights, I already did like a lot of like bomber wing support stuff because everyone was flying Ishtars and you could bomb drones or the Ishtars itself, and or like smart bomb battleships, and like we always had that little special group going, that would do those like extra things, which obviously helped. And I think nowadays, I mean, on this scale anyway, right? You have so many people, for example, in Papi, they have so many guys, they almost like, why wouldn't they form a bomber fleet, right? But I think nowadays everyone is kind of going towards that approach to never just bring that one thing, but bring, a little wing of bombers or a little, one smart bomb battleship or, some special tools. But back then, I think we were like basically the only ones doing it.
Yeah, I mean, you see NC Dot too. Like they bring Like they bring their smart bombing Macarial along with their Munin fleets, right? You always see one or two of those.
Yep,
So there's
true.
always these little things. But you're only going to see it in the groups that either have the people, like massive amounts of people, or in the more specialized alliances, like Init and NC.
Yeah. All right. So how about Waking? What would your doctrine of choice be then?
Well, I think most of the guys in it know that I'm a big missions person. So I love pirate stuffs, and Shines knows that I love battleships and close range guns. So I can't actually figure out what I want to pick, but it would probably be something like Macarials with like 800s with some faction implants, something like that.
AC Max. Oh, yeah.
It certainly would not be cost effective, and we'd probably lose a bunch of fights, but it would be fun. I love battleships. I mean, that's why I got into the game. Maybe close. The close runner-up might be Nightmares with Nirvanas or something.
What was it, Shines?
Do you remember that fight in GE over the Tatara where Brave were in auto artillery Macarials and we refit 800 shields Macarials and just went 1-0?
I think I joined late, like I usually do.
I mean, even more so now that CCP did the like 20% damage bonus to the Tech 2 close range ammo. I'm waiting for the day that we roll out a new doctrine like that, or even torpedoes, rattlesnakes with torpedoes, Nirvana rattlesnakes. That would be fun.
Yeah, I think like on a large scale, you'll never see doctrines. Oh, I mean, I don't want to say never, but rarely see doctrines with like short range guns. Sadly, right? It's just what it is.
We should be the change we want to see, Panda.
Well,
I know maybe. It won't work. It won't work.
I'm
just teasing.
If they would implement a change, like I always brought up, that maybe there should be a speed penalty on guns, right? So all hulls get a little bit extra speed, and then if you fit short range guns, you only lose a little bit of speed, and if you fit long range guns, you lose a little bit more, right? So now there's an incentive to fit short range guns over long range, and you could catch them and all that stuff and keep up, and it would probably shake up the Munin and Eagle meta too, like that, or the shield hack meta, I should say, right? Because that speed on long range guns, you can't really it would change it. So maybe in that case, if they would ever do that, I can see it happening. Yeah. AC Max, they have some application for sure. But I don't know.
I actually had to fit the armor Macarials shot out to 155 kilometers with autocannons.
Yep, that fall off bonus is insane.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Fappy, what's your doctrine of choice then?
I can only choose one, and there's several reasons for it. So it's the most wormholey doctrine, and it was the one that I got to fly in M2, and it's Zealots. Yes, I first of all, I love armor-based platforms with E-War. That is what I spent about 6 years doing in wormholes, right? That was always the big brawl fight. And then my first semi-important fleet in it was in Zealots as well, and it went really smoothly. It went really well. We went to Loca, we killed a bunch of caps and stuff, and we had a great time doing it. Not caps, sorry, but we dropped a load of caps later, but it was just nice. I think it was like 25 bill or something. It was just a really nice feeling to actually that was my first big moment where I was like, oh, okay, I can do this now. And then in M2 during the whole timer, we warped 2-0 on all of the Titans in our Zealots to aggress them to make sure they didn't log off. And it's probably the only time I will ever call free fire on Titans. So that's a huge moment for me. So I'm gonna. It's my desktop background whenever I load up my PC. Someone took a screenshot during the fleet of the Titan wrecks and stuff, and then there's my monitor in the bottom left, and then this fleet of Zealots just behind it firing away, and it was such a cool moment for me. And I started playing Eve because of BTACR, and I think you guys are actually in BTACR in varying capacities and so on. That was the I saw the stream for that, and that's what made me want to play. And I was like, okay, the next time one of them happens, I want to be in it. And then I got to be in it, and that was just a really sweet moment. And I would take Zealots to everything if I could, but I can't. Otherwise, Shines will kill me. So we got to mix up the variety a little bit. But yeah, always Zealots.
I remember the
I
last
think we
time.
all love lasers too. I don't know.
Yes,
I know that I got into
that's
Eve
true.
once upon a time because of lasers in space.
I remember last time I fielded Zealots and I got completely fucking shit on. I bridged into system, warped us to a hostile fort to kill those Sinos to then pivot over to the fight. What I didn't realize is like there was more fleets coming in at that moment, right? And then I got caught on that fucking fort and I couldn't extract anymore. That's the shit about Zealots. AB Zealots at least. I don't know, maybe you're talking about Shield MW Zealots, but I'm guessing it's AB Armor Zealots. And I could not get out of that bubble fuck. And we lost like the entire fleet and we just killed like, I don't know, a couple dudes. Man, that was a horrible fleet.
I think every discussion about fleet fits and everything that like in DEFCON Corp channel for the next month after that was Pandora going, oh, I hate Zealots, and me going, oh, I love Zealots. For a month we were just like,
yeah.
Zealots are great, but you have to use them in like very specific situations, and that's why Munins are so OP, because you literally undock a Munin fleet and you can do anything in Eve.
Yeah, what I always say is when it comes to Zealots are great if you win the fight. If you don't win the fight, they're fucking shit, right?
Well, yeah.
Lose the fight
and my argument for that
bad.
is every doctrine is great if you win. If you win.
No, why?
Do you remember when we first brought
I mean?
the Zealots out at the start of the war, and Pappy, PamFam dudes were staging in Hopib, and we had some like great fights, Munins versus Zealots there. But it really depends on you having a way out, which you do in low sec, you know.
Yeah, in low sec they're pretty good. Someone says, was that in D4K? No, that wasn't in D4K. I believe
we used the Abaddons in D4KU, and then we used the. I mean, maybe there was one in. I know Bliss used the Zealots to free the Titan in D4KU. All right, that jumped there by accident, but no, it was mostly Abaddons we used in D4, and then it was Zealots or Munins in Hopib.
Yeah, the fleet that I fucked up there and got caught was somewhere in Delve, I believe.
I think it was an NPC Delve.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly. It might have been, around about the M2 stuff. Not the M2 timer, but like around that time. But yeah, I like Zealots. Not anymore. But yeah, I mean, obviously for me, like if I have to answer my own question, it will be obviously Kikis, right? I fucking love it. Kikis with a couple of bombers, so.
I was going to say that, like, what doctrine, if you had to pick a doctrine you created, that like you would say you were the first one to actually fly it out there, would it be Kikis? Like, you could pick any of the game mechanics that existed as well. Would you pick Kikis over Stukas?
No.
Nothing beats Stukas though.
Stukas are too fun, dude.
Stuka was so much fun.
I said it several times. I agree. The whole boost mechanic was a little bit too strong, and they should do some. I just like always said, like, there are more. At the time, there was more pressing issues in the game than the boost mechanic. For example, at the time, Horde Titans and Super Projectors, they were just dominating everything anyway. And boosting was the only thing to get around that issue. And then they nerfed boosting first. That was my big issue at the time. But now, at this point, I'm fine with it. Whatever. But that was just too much fun. I would never, the Ravens were great too, right? Remember that time when we first brought out those Ravens? That was, great too. You just have something you can do, even though you're outnumbered to shit cap-wise and sub-wise and everything. You shouldn't be even forming, and we, go out and do, awesome shit. That's obviously...
God damn.
Great.
Subs.
Holy shit.
See, you're about to distract him now from the sound running.
Hey, that's exactly what's happening. I always mute the sound when subs happen for the stream so the recording doesn't get fucked up. But I still get to hear it for some reason. And like, no, I'm gonna have Miranda in my ear saying, "You
You
subscribe to
to Pando? That's so hot.
Exactly. Thanks.
That was weird. I had the stream
Abdul.
open and I thought it came on that, and then I like looked down and saw, oh, that was real.
Live.
Abdul, you're a legend. But yeah,
Yeah, so back to
There's
Stukas.
back to Stukas.
really quick though. There's a button you can push to skip the notifications.
Is there? I don't know where.
Yeah, on Streamlabs. But anyway, back to Stukas
Yeah.
and Bushing.
Yeah, I mean, Stukas, they left a best experience for me, I guess, in Eve so far. When I first joined in it, I had no clue about Pando and Shines, and old FCs. It was, let's say, a random pick. I tried to join goons, to be honest. I mean, I used to kill goons all day, every day, and that's all I used to do. And I got fed up with the horde, and I was like, fuck it, let's go to goons, because I had some friends in goons, but they rejected me. I was like, fuck it, let's try in it. They are lies. And yeah, when it comes to Stukas, I can tell you one thing. It was the best fucking experience in Eve so far, and I believe it was the same feeling for majority of players in it. And
Yeah.
I had many guys, lots of guys in it who used to log in just to fly in Stuka fleets, just for that, because they used to be so fucking good. And when CCP fucked it up, it was the saddest day ever.
So when you say that, right, obviously I'm kind of proud of that and stuff. The thing is, it wasn't actually the FCing or the doctrine that was so good, like on its own, right? It was the abundance of content, right? We didn't have to do what you're doing right now. Having fucking 20 chars all over Eve, logging in, checking every moon, checking every fucking ping, seeing who's like green on rock cards, who's mining, who's like, do we have a warmer connection here, there, everywhere, mapping, probing, like all that stuff. Like, there's a lot of shit in the background that people are not aware of. Back then, all we had to do is map one wormhole with 20 connections. Mind, now Drifter worms have 60. Back then, we just mapped one with 20. And by the way, Fountain is the region with the most Drifter wormholes, so we kind of made use of that. We got lucky there, to be honest. But with just 20 connections, and I could find at least 2, 3, 4 desties of like stuff. And then there would be like rockouts everywhere, right? And then obviously, at the time, rockouts were too strong. Just mining-wise, maybe, right? Or at the beginning, at the very least. But at some point, I think they crossed that line. And it made them too weak. And now with scarcity, it's not even a debate at this point, right? That we need more stuff in space to be hunted and shit. But, it was like the abundance of targets that really made that happen, I think. And that's why it was so fun. Because everyone knew, like, when we form a Stuka fleet, there's gonna be some action, right? And that's an FC's dream too. Like, even if you just tackle a rocker and get some, action out of it, I'm already fine with that. We don't always have to get the kill or win the fight. I just want to have a fight every time, right? At least give me a chance of winning a fight by, having a fight. And that's the key there, I think.
Yeah, that's exactly what FCs are doing. They are here to provide content for the guys. And when it comes to oracles, only reason I like oracles and hunting them and shit, it's like an instant timer. Some FCs are trying to create some structure timers to get, well, at least to expect fight out of that. But when it comes to the oracle, it's just fucking instant timer. You get fight right away.
Yeah.
All you have to do is tackle shit.
Yeah, some people are really good. I think Shines is really good at that. At hitting the right structures to get the right fight. You know what I mean? Like, what structure do you ref to get a fight for the numbers you can form at a certain time? You know what I mean? That's always what you have to kind of think about. I never figured that out, to be honest. I sometimes do hit structures, but it's so rare. And I never get the fight I want, really. But yeah, it's a different approach, I think, right? It's like the instant spontaneous thing, or it's more the planned approach. You know, it's a different FC style almost, right?
I think it's an era thing. Like I grew up FCing in a time when the content that you got was from reffing a tower because it was extremely lucrative to have like a passive income R64. So you be basically guaranteed that the hostiles would show up the next day to defend it. But obviously that changed with citadels. But now you kind of have that in Rorquals. The only difference is Rorquals aren't static; they're not always at the same place, so you have to go find the fucking things.
That's another thing, right? Imagine that time when we started to really do Stücker fleets all day, every day. There wasn't always not only rockets everywhere, but also they were always at the kind of same spot, right? They were always in the colossal or like enormous belt. Like you kinda sometimes in the ice belt, but it's super rare. So you kinda the chance of tackling them in time to get into system, to know where to go and warp there and be fast enough to catch them was also way higher, right? And now there's way less people in space with rockets, and then they're on Athanos. So you have to warp to that Athanos first, then you're not in range. You have to warp to the asteroid and like all kind, like, you know, it's all time. So the chance of tackling them went down while there's like way less targets too. And yeah, it's a little sad. But what do you guys think? Is it going to change? Like the end of scarcity? Like what does the end of scarcity even mean, right? Is it going to be bigger rocks, so rockets are going to be out in space again?
I think people are going to use Rorquals anyway. Like I don't think it's a lot of people use excavator or whatever they're called, the barges, but a lot of people still want to use Rorquals, especially the high skilled, richer players. Like if I lose a Rorqual, it's not a big deal, but it also pulls in a lot more than like me having the multi-box barges. So if I had the opportunity, I'd still use a Rorqual, even though they're kind of shit. But yeah, CCP need to give, I think, maybe the less casual people more of a reason to use them.
They have to. There is no other way. I mean, CCP has to realize that they are not creating content. The FCs are the ones who are creating content. And if there is no room to create that content, I mean, what the fuck we are going to do? We have the fucking Astra House in the middle of nowhere and expect someone will arrive? They could at least, I mean, in my opinion, remove one of the structure timers. Like having shield armor and hull, I don't know, man, it makes no sense.
Well, what I always say is like only like remove one timer on all refineries and engineering complexes, right? I think you don't really need that many.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's why you get such great content over jump bridges, because as soon as you ref it the first time, you can't use it. So if you did that for all the structures, that would solve a lot of problems.
I was going to say that a bit. Like that's one of the, I mean, people are memeing at me for reffing jump bridges this war, right? Like the GTAC M jump bridge, we kind of try to keep it in ref a lot of the time. But if you look at, like, if you take a step back, jump bridges they have that same lucrative feeling as a passive mining R64 because you get very easy fatigue free transport that you can use with capitals as well. So it is lucrative, but it's also it doesn't take too long to ref. It's only one timer, and then it comes out sometime in the next 24 hours. So they don't have, like, hostiles don't usually have time to like call in the rest of Eve. Like there's no 3-day warning time on jump bridges.
And you know what? Like a lot of times it's not even on the timer where the fight is, but on the first ref, right?
Yep.
So like that's the only structures really that I hit for fights, right? Just ring the doorbell, right? Just hit the jump bridge and see what happens. Like sometimes it's a blob, sometimes it's not enough of a blob. Sometimes it's a blob, but it's so shitty, so like unorganized that you actually have a chance of fighting them, right? So I think that's something CCP really needs to take a close look at. And then also, if you think about it, when you talk about Retarus and let's say Athanos and stuff, like if it's only one timer, what would actually be the result? Like it's not like people would like invade each other right away and it would like they would just kill them for free. it would still like be, quite a bit of work to hit a hostile structure in their space, right? If it's outside their space, I mean, you should, it should be fairly easy to hit it and, get away with it. So I think only having one timer on those kind of structures makes total sense. And then Sotios, for example, let's just take Horde as an example. If we wanted to hit Horde, which we always do whenever there's pressure on Delve, right? Then we're active in Uamon and we're creating conflicting timers. So if we now would go into their space and hit a Sotio, right? Because people would probably be like, oh, one timer, then you could just lose a lot of shit too quick. But like a Sotio, for example, you have to hit a damage cap of 90,000. People don't think about that too much. 90,000? That's 1,000 DPS ships. Just to fucking pause, or like just to get it done in time. Like basically, right? You haven't won a fight yet. There's 90 ships just busy with that. And that's high DPS build ships or whatever, right? So it's not an easy task to do a shit ton of damage very quickly, right? So yeah, I 100% agree with the one-timer thing on engineering and what's the other one? Refineries.
Mining refineries, yeah. That actually, and there's proof that the concept works already a little bit in iHubs and TCU timers, right? I don't know if you guys remember the Fappy Hour fleets, where we used to take keys through a drifter hole and we would find somebody's Sov to ref, and it would just be like an iHub somewhere, and we start spooling up on that, and then they don't, because it's kind of a hassle to deal with a defensive timer, people don't want to give that up. At the moment, there's not really much need to defend a shield timer for anything. You just sort of go, I'll just wait until the armor timer pops up, and then contest that, and then you get a second chance with the hold timer, right? But if you don't contest the shield timer and then it goes straight to the hold timer, then you're at risk at losing the structure, even if you win the fight. There's like an element of risk there, and I think that already exists in iHubs, and maybe probably is a better method of doing it than we currently have at the moment, because I think it's a bit too much grind at the moment.
Yeah, and if you offline some of the services like on Athanos, if you destroy the moon chunk on a fast timer out of 2, imagine that shit. I mean, I was talking about instant timers, so that would cause instant timers for sure. The reason to fight immediately.
The problem with that though is like that's something that's super affected by time zones.
Yeah.
That's
You
true.
gotta be careful with that kind of stuff. I would probably say forget about the killing the moon chunk or whatever.
I mean, unless you have an option like on CTUs and iHubs setting your time zone, the bullshit.
Or you go with the, with a strong timer. Like, I always I think a lot of people go back to that and think like, it was actually a brilliant way of balancing it, right? The whole time zone issue with the strong timer that you have to put in the fuel and you can only fuel it as long as it's over 50% or whatever. So if you react quick, you can adjust it, you're going to be fine. But if you're not quick enough, whatever you have stranded it for, that's going to be, that's what it's going to be like. And it was a surprisingly well balanced approach, I thought. And it's sad that they got rid of that, right? So maybe on Athanos, that's what it should be again, right? Strong timers.
I think with stuff like the strong timers, it gave power to both groups because the attackers could influence, they could gamble and influence when it came out by like getting it below 50 and then fucking around with it.
Yeah,
but it also gave the defenders a chance to bring it out in their time zone as well if they were quick enough. So it had a lot more player input than the current AFK system.
Yep, there was way more you could do, right? For those people, for the people that are not aware, I think most people are probably not aware at this point, beside the FCs that were active at the time, how the whole mechanic worked. Like, if you think about it, it's like, it looks pretty obvious, but the result of the mechanic was a lot of times that you would hit, obviously, either you would hit the structure out of your time zone, which means a lot of times in their time zone as a surprise, because they wouldn't put enough strand in, or like the amount of strand in for like, you know, a 24-hour timer, because that would mean their shit is getting revved in their time zone, which is not what they prepared for, right? So you would prepare for getting hit outside your time zone. But then the result would be people would adjust to that and hit them in their time zone, right? That's one way of like them being able to counterform right away, and that's content right there. Then a lot of times they would hit it outside their time zone, but then they kite the timer. So that means they shoot the pos below 50%, but then they leave it, right? And the pos recharges super slow. So someone can bring in a minnow and wrap it and then restrunt it and everything is fine. Or they don't, and then the guys like 6 hours later come in and finish the job, and then it's a 6-hour different timer and nobody was able to restrunt it, and so on, right? And it's like there's so many little ways of getting that content out of this timer, out of that one thing, if you play it right, if you think about it. Kubera, aka who's Aldous Kubera again? Isn't that Kalkin? Brings up ospreys. That was fun as fuck, right? The mechanic. Then when we formed 100 ospreys, just pure rep power, and just rep the fucking pos up in 2 minutes or so. There was so many fun mechanics about it, right? So many fun ways to approach it, and
that's why
there was a healthier way.
That's why I always am pushing for like that's why I really dislike. I understand the damage cap. I understand why it's needed, but I don't like it and I don't like the auto repair timer on structures. That's why, like, the pause reps, yeah, they took a while, but you also had some really, like, I don't know, it feels like back then there was a lot more cool shit you could pull off, whereas now it's very, do A, do B, job done. That's it. And there's nothing you can do about it. Like, there's no, I don't know. You know what I mean? There's no.
Yeah, what would be the perfect balance then?
Well, I mean, when it comes to the damage cap, if you have 2 timers, I mean, right now, if you bash shield, you don't expect fights. I mean, it's not going to happen. It's like not very likely.
Unless it's a keep though, yeah.
Yeah, but if you have 2 timers and even the first timer, does shit like destroys Moonchunk or something like that, it's not going to be as important anymore, the damage cap itself, because you only have to do it twice.
Well, with the damage caps.
Second?
With the damage caps, like, you need to stop like an Imperium Titan fleet of 1,000 Titans jumping in and just alphaing your keep star. So that's what it's there to avoid. But like, at the same time, if I want to drop 50 dreads on an Athanor to ref it in 1 minute, I think I should be able to drop 50 dreads on an Athanor to ref it in 1 minute, because they're sieged for 5 minutes. They can't jump out for 6 minutes, which means that somebody has enough time to get a dictor onto my dreads. That's the kind of stuff you miss.
So
it could be neat. I mean, you could give people choices too. Like, if you want 3 timers, no damage cap. If you want 2 timers, you get a damage cap. Something like that.
I mean, right now with the 3 timers, shield timer could have no damage cap because it plays no role at the moment. I mean, you just go in, ref it, and expect they will show up on armor timer.
I just liked the mechanics around repping stuff and shooting stuff, like being able to shoot station services to turn off cloning, be able to shoot station services to turn off fittings, being able to but also being able to rep those things. So like, if you're the defender, you're not just like, you don't have to beat off the hostile fleet. You just have to clear enough DPS so that your reps start catching on the structure to save it. There's that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and I wonder if there's a balance there somewhere to do both, to, for example, have the structure timers just be no damage cap, but you can rep the structure and then give it enough resist, so remote hull repairers, might just get the job done, and then it's a very specific kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Or like, there's ways, I believe there's ways to balance this good, and then take all the experience from the past, from posses and stations and now citadels and everything, just combine it all and like make it a big, like I think there's enough data out there, like what works, what doesn't work, so we can figure it out, right?
Well, I mean, what you could also do is like if you remember, and what a lot of people forget, right, is that nowadays you bring out like 5, 6 stealth bombers, you can ref an Athenor. Like all you have to do is keep up with the damage cap, and it gets refed. And this is like on an R64 or something, right? But back when it was towers, if you brought 5 or 6 bombers, the pause would obliterate you. Like you wouldn't ref the tower if it was
Yeah.
fit properly. So why are now suddenly like 6 bombers able to ref, able to ref a structure? And the argument that always comes out is, oh well, small groups would be affected. And I hate that argument because every time CCP change something and base a decision off the small group being affected, it always goes to shit for everybody. So like,
Yeah, it's
if you want to
Mercana's,
do something, you have to kind of commit to it.
what's it called again? Mercana's,
Mal'Canis' law.
yeah, Mercana's law, that whenever you wanna like do something for the small group, it's always way better in a big group. I forgot what the exact quote is actually.
Malk is actually watching. What is it, Malk?
Yeah, just put it in chat. But it's like, it comes up every time. But I think I don't believe in that. I gotta say, I agree with the quote. Like in the past, that happened a lot. But I don't agree that it always has to be like that. I agree. Like I think there are changes that would benefit small groups more than big groups, and they should try to implement those.
Yeah, exactly. Like CCP is trying to nerf big nullsec groups, and that's exactly what they have to do with like 2 timers, less damage cap, and stuff like that. Because right now it's way too easy for big nullsec groups like Fraternity, whatever, to have shitload of Athanors like everywhere. Like remember Init overextending to Fountain, Cloud Ring, fucking
We're gonna make that mistake again, right?
Syndicate, Aridia, like fucking Athanors everywhere, and we kept running around.
Yeah, we had shit in
Imagine
7 regions.
if you have 2 fucking timers. Imagine running around, then it would be impossible.
Yeah, true.
So it would stop like big groups from doing that shit. That's for sure.
Yep,
So
very
Malk just DM'd me. He says any change proposed to benefit new players is always to the overwhelming advantage of older, richer players, but you can also swap new players for smaller groups.
Yeah, true. It was about small new players. And yeah, I wonder, CCP has been working on the new player experience for a long time, and I wonder if there's like something coming out of this at some point. And then maybe there's dev power, dev time free that they can use for like, citadels. Even though we like, I would say I don't want to talk about it, but like I kind of do want to talk about it. So like maybe
resist the urge.
It's maybe it's coming. Who knows?
Fingers crossed.
Thanks
like
any,
it doesn't necessarily have to be anything big, but anything that gets people back in space is good.
Yeah, that's what I always say, right? When I get blobbed by some dudes in a small gang, I always say like, yeah, it doesn't feel great. It really doesn't. I'd rather have a good fight. But man, I'm glad at least people undock, right? As long as people undock, there's an opportunity. Maybe not for me at this time in this fleet, but maybe tomorrow I'll bring this fleet as a bait and then, do something else with it, and then we shit on them, So as long as people are in space, I'm happy. And I hope we see more people in space very soon. And then now the Delve thing, it's heating up. That's a good thing. So and actually no Pappy fleet in the constellation so far. So nobody had to drop off. That's good too.
Not yet.
Well, we have like in 15 minutes. I think we're gonna be fine. But yeah. Is there any like changes that you guys think in the past and like a recent past that were like a massive, like not a massive mistake, but a mistake that goes the wrong direction, where you guys like where you guys want to like point out? Since we're all like I don't want to say different playstyles, but we all have like little differences in the approach, right, to our gameplay.
From a wormhole perspective, everything that ever touched wormholes made it worse. Just every time they tried to make it better, it just got worse, and it just kept doing that until there was nobody there. So I hope the same doesn't happen for Null, but at least it sounds like they're taking feedback on board and stuff.
Yeah, the number one thing I always hear from wormholers is the resist nerfs, right? And I never understood that patch. I never understood that change, where that was coming from, what the issue was they were trying to solve.
Well, the issue
missing
for wormholers before that was always how strong the faxes were, right? And then the resist nerf was to make it so that you could kill faxes, I think, is sort of the direction they were going.
Or reps apply better on high resist ships. So
yeah.
Well, I agree with the fax thing. Faxes were always too strong, and I'm personally fine with where they are right now. But from a wormhole perspective, that might just not be the case, of course.
They were impossible to kill. Like it was genuinely you'd kill the entire fleet, and then you'd spend 15 minutes just waiting and waiting and waiting until he ran out of cap boosters, and then you'd kill it. That was the only way you could actually do it with numbers in wormholes, which is kind of weird. But
and I think the diminishing return nerf on faxes, I think that was pretty on point too. I liked it. I still do. I think there was we don't always have to talk about the bad changes, right? Some changes were really good, right? And then people like, who was it we talked about? Was it yesterday we talked about like formations? Or was it on stream like 2 days ago maybe? Formations, changed the game more than people think, right? Because like bomb runs in the middle of the fight really don't happen, and then the opportunities for like, I don't know, smart bomb plays and all that stuff, they're way more rare now. I'm not too mad about it still though. I still believe formations were like a cool addition, and even though the stuff I like to do, which was bombing, or still is bombing and like chemos and all kinds of stuff, I suffered a bit. I still think they're doing quite well.
Well, when they first announced the formations, I was thinking about something else, like the flight formations, when you like set a formation when your fleet anchors up on FC. And let's say you have a formation when you have Logi surrounded by combat ships, and when you have that kind of formation, whatever is outside gets shield, capacity, whatever, reduced, while Logi gets defense capabilities increased. I mean, you know what I mean, like a coverage bullshit, something like that. And it would look way much cooler than it is now, when you have that ball of ships, which is fucking stupid. All that beauty of Eve is destroyed in that one big fight. Just sad to look at it. But anyways, yeah. I was hoping for something like that.
You would like more options, like keep it range, orbit, and then you could just like have certain patterns. You could just say like, exactly. I wanna be like, I don't know, 5 km to the left, 10 km behind them, or something like this. And everyone could just like
it's like in reality you have a bomber formation, for example, yeah. Which obviously serves some purpose. But in general, yeah, I don't know, like they had some good nerfs, but the way CCP does all the balance thingies, I just don't get it. I mean, like, let's say we have mutants right now. They are going to get nerfed at some point more. But instead, why not fucking buff something which could then counter that bullshit,
But
And
like what?
They keep nerfing and nerfing and nerfing. Like, I don't know anything. Like, I don't agree with the Titan Hogan removal or the super nerf. Like, they reduced tracking and something like that. I kept
After
saying
that-
like one super and one whole Titan is not a problem. The problem is when you have fucking 50 of them on grid. Then
Yeah.
it's a problem.
Yeah, and the reality is there are 50 of them on grid if you hit certain.
Yeah, so I
think,
had
though,
that old idea. And what it could do, let's say you have 50 fucking Titans on grid with their whole guns, right? And you have, let's say, something like magnetic field disruption bullshit, which means if you are Titan and you have X amount of Titans around you, you have your tracking disrupted, decreased by X amount of whatever. So you can't track subcaps anymore. The only thing you can shoot is caps. You get what I mean?
Yeah, I do get what you mean. I just think it's kind of tough.
It's tough. It's extra calculations for the server and stuff, but to get the right balance for that, I don't see a fucking problem. And cap fights would be cap fights, and if you drop 50 supers and you can't track battleships with them,
Yeah, so one thing I think I brought it up before, I don't know, but I had in mind before that could solve this problem to a degree at least is like, what if we had like negative boosts, with ganglings, more shield HP and stuff, and then we have the phenoms on Titans. But what if you could have a command ship with like negative boosts, like everyone gets less tracking. That includes friendlies and hostiles, right? So suddenly if you are like a heavy tracking doctrine, like, and that's tracking and missile application, you could just but you hit everyone, right? And then for Titans and or big stuff, obviously they would have an even harder time hitting smaller stuff. So that would increase the viability of actually sick tanking and stuff, because that's not happening at all. Let's be honest, nothing is sick tanking in this game. Hard Titans got removed, so Titans cannot hit like small stuff like kickies and shit. Okay, but in general, put a couple painters on it, you're gonna be fine. You're gonna track just fine. Nothing sick tanking. No, like there's no one out there murdering shit as a sick tank base. It's just not happening, right? It's all about range control and alpha and whatever mutants do good. And
that's exactly what I was going to say. There's no one in fleet fights right now bringing ECM or really any kind of EOR. Sure, some people bring target painters, and there's some niche times when we maybe bring a curse to nude out a hostile monitor or something. But there's EOR really has no place in the meta. And you would think that in a 5,000 person fight, you'd want a ton of EOR kind of shutting down somebody, and it's not really seen today. So figuring out how to fix that, I think, would be pretty interesting. And I like this idea of the AOE negative boost.
Yeah,
I mean, you have so many ways, but CCP keeps doing the same shit all over again. They keep nerfing one single ship instead of the problem they're facing right now. I mean, one Horde Titan is definitely not a fucking problem. Lots of Horde Titans is a problem. And all of that stuff. I mean, it's just sad.
But with the changes to Titan, with the changes to capital builds, and with the changes to faxes, and with the changes to resistances, I don't think it would be too much of a problem fitting hulls on Titans again. I would probably lower the DPS
at this
by
point, I don't think so. Yeah,
30% or so, like knock the DPS down on them or the tracking,
well,
so that you had to bring some target paints or stuff. But I mean, imagine you drop 20 hull Titans, and then you get dread bombed by 50, 60 dreads. You're going to lose Titans. You're not going to kill all those dreads quickly.
Correct. And so when we go back to when the Horde Titans were actually a big issue, I never said Horde Titans, like Horgons, should be removed. I always said maybe they should be polarized. Maybe they should be half polarized. So, wherever the balance is. I don't know what the EHP will exactly be if you just go with 50% resist or whatever. But like, there's a balance there somewhere. You could just like go with that. So if you fit Hor guns, yeah, you lose EHP, right? And effectively rep power. That's like what I would have loved to see, because then Hor Titans would have still been a thing, right? You could still run your havens and all that stuff, or like whatever you want to do. I mean, I guess there was the boson, but you know what I mean. Like, there would still be fear that they would still feel safe enough to do stuff, while having the tools of actually getting shit done, right? And then you would see them in space and could get them tackled and kill them.
Yeah, I mean, if you're dropping like 20, 30 Titans now, like for every 10 Titans you drop, that's a conservative 1.2, 1.3 trillion ISK you're putting on the field that can be killed very quickly by the right group. Look at Snuff and what they're doing. So
they're doing some good work.
I mean, there's a lot of. I mean, I'm not saying that they should be completely overpowered or anything, but I mean, they were back then. But I think now, if you reintroduce them with like a small, like just to lower the stats on them a little bit and bring them back in, you'd probably see a lot more Titans in space, and as a result, you'd see a lot more dead Titans.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's basically, I mean, what we've been asking for a while now, right? More targets. We need targets in space, please. Yeah.
Targets means more content, more players in game.
Yep, very much so.
Simple as that.
Yep. I'm just reading a comment. SBU Leth. You were the reason they got the heavy nerf. You put it up on forums. I'm guessing you're talking about the faxes. I'm not sure, but I'm guessing it's about faxes. I don't think I've like that much influence that I was the sole reason of like faxes getting a nerf.
I think he was joking.
Oh, he was joking? Well, still, but I did say faxes needed, and I stand by that. They needed a nerf, and they got
Just
the
bring
nerf.
back the old triage carriers. Be grand.
You know what? When I had CCP Rise on, I asked him, what are the chances that we get the combat refit back on triage instead? And he's like, nope, not happening. And his reasoning behind that was because it gets around a base mechanic, and that base mechanic being you fit your ship, then you undock and you fight with what you have. And in that case, you could just do it, like you could just switch the ship completely around in the middle of a fight. Which, I don't know.
Yeah, but to refit, you have to have a capital there. Well, I mean, the Nestor can do it now as well.
The Nestor can do it.
It used to be only a capital, right?
But
so
we had combat refit, and how many people used it crazy in subcap ways? We did it, right? Remember the Transformers? But I don't think anyone else did it in any
be honest,
impactful way.
I've never heard that line of argument from before, and it's a stupid fucking line of argument. So it's like, because you undock something in a certain way, you have to permanently keep it that way. Like,
yeah, I'm paraphrasing here too, right? Like, maybe he was a little bit more precise with it, but I'm pretty sure that's what he said, right? It was about the fitting mechanic, and it's like such a base mechanic, so they didn't want to like give a special role to another ship.
Being able to like refit to, like, if let's say you're being shot by Zealots, being able to land on grid and refit to 8 EM hardeners, yeah, okay, that might be a bit OP.
Well, you can still do it, you just can't be aggressed at the time.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't, if they shoot you, you can still refit. But you can't have an aggression time yourself, right?
It wasn't even the combat refit I was talking about. It's more just like the old triage carriers.
Or like overall a complete package. Yeah, yep. I never understood why they introduced faxes in the first place, but it is what it is. All right, guys, we are close to 1.5 hours, which is usually where we, have it. Do you guys have any anything on your mind you want to get rid of? Then
yes.
All right, go.
Theoretically speaking, if Stukas were still in the game now and active, and we could still use them every day, and you and Miranda had a baby, would the baby be called Kiki, or would it be called Stuka?
Kiki.
Is it a boy or a girl? Right.
And this is how we see relationships fall apart. Answer wisely, Panda. You only get one chance.
I don't think I want to answer. Well, Kiki is an alright name. Nobody would know.
Kiki's like a legit name.
Is it?
In America.
One day I want to meet someone who's named
There's a
Kiki.
whole song. There's a whole song. Kiki, do you love me?
Oh, really? Well, but
Come
nobody...
on, Stuka, get out of bed. It's time for school.
I tell you what, nobody in the world is called Stuka, though. I mean,
that'd be pretty badass.
There's probably one guy.
I don't know if never mind. Bad joke.
All right. All right. Anyone else? No.
Nope.
In that case, guys, thanks for coming on. And yeah, see you guys in Fleet, I'd say, right?
Thanks for having me.
And the guys on stream, thanks for hanging out. Abdul, thanks for the fucking massive subs. Also, thanks to the other guys for subs and all that stuff. Thanks for the host, Belful. And yeah, whoever gets the skin, congrats. You have to type it in here before I link it. There you go. Just to give everyone a chance and not only the guys that are aware how this works. Yeah. See you guys around. Bye-bye.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, Panda.
Ghost bomb block in. Ghost bomb block in. Ghost bomb block in. Local, get us into range there, and then fucking.
Prop mods on, prop mods on, prop mods on, aggro, prop mods on,
Ghost bomb block in. Sedrin, get off that beacon.
Kill that heretic.
It's gonna get hot there.
Okay, yep.
Load mystic, load mystic, load mystic, load mystic. Load mystic, load mystic. Don't shoot the praxis, don't shoot the praxis, don't shoot the praxis. Quick primary is just lock and fire on these jackdaws,
Ghost
guys.
bomb hardness on, do it. Remove them all.
Lock and fire on jackdaws.
Get hick bubble up, hick bubble up, hick bubble up and burn in. Hick bubble up and burn in.
Dictators try and get bubbled as well. Just lock and fire on these jackdaws, guys. Lock and fire on these jackdaws.
Hick bubble up.
Burn on top of them.
Burn
on top of them. Lock and fire on jackdaws, guys. Lock and fire on jackdaws. Lock and fire on jackdaws. Load up. Get webs on this monitor. Hyenas, get webs on this monitor. Load me's on. Shoot this jackdaw. Shoot this jackdaw.
Get webs on the monitor if we can. Webs on the monitor if we can.
Fire through these jackdaws. I'm broadcasting now. Fire through them as soon as you can.
Ghost bomb, approach that monitor 2. MWD's on if you can. Just approach that monitor. MWD on.
I'm going to keep broadcasting jackdaws, guys. We're killing them too quickly for me to call them out.
Yeah, just get your guns on. Get that monitor pointed and webbed.
Point on monitor.
Alright, looking good. Ghost bomb, I think your job is done. What's your armor? If you're deep armor, stop. Guys, you have to tell me I'm not there.
I didn't hit the armor. Just shield.
Right. And keep going a little bit. If you can get on top of them, keep going. Looking clean. I like it.
Broadcasts are coming through, guys. Broadcasts are coming through.
Yeah, some of you got boosted, I know. That's okay.
Cloudis, is your iHub clear?
I came with you.
Okay, Cloudis, if you can get yourself into that system with your toaster.
Which one was it again? TM?
It was TM.
Yep, on my way.
Get points on the monitors, guys. Get points on the monitors. Just keep locking fire on small shit. Lock and fire on small shit. Lock and fire on small shit. Keep tackling.
bombing. Rife.
Stop
Pointed.
smart bombing. Stop smart bombing. Ghost bomb. Ghost bomb. Stop. Job done. Ghost
No
bomb,
more
stop.
smart bombs. No more smart bombs. No more smart bombs. Kill the stalks. Kill the stalks. Kill the stalks. Fucking beautiful. No mercy, guys.
Awesome.
Nobody lives.
Looks way more engageable suddenly.
Keep removing small stuff. Load
Make
me's
sure
in if you
I'm
need
on
to
it.
get something far
Take
away.
it.
Keep tackle on the monitors. Keep
I've
webs on
got
them.
both tackled.
Oh, that's two.
Yeah, there's two. Two different
I
angles.
have webs on ARK.
Okay, DPS on Wraith now. DPS on Wraith. If you can, don't hit any praxis, guys. I don't know if you noticed, but they're friendly. DPS on Wraith.
I have a broadsword pilot. I have Ralph scrammed. Scram the other one, please.
I got
Get-
the other one.
Sweet.
Secondary is Arcadius.
What?
Let's see if we can get that
Toaster's-
iHub as well.
Toaster's still alive, yeah? Back to work, guys.
Get a monitor, guys.
Yep, going on Arcadius now. Is he scrammed? Or am I burning away from him?
You're
It's one
burning
way
away.
to- Just let me on,
He's
guys. Sorry
scrammed.
about that.
It's fine. Kill the pods as well. For the monitors.
Yeah, kill the monitor pods, guys.
Local, good job.
Look, that's sexy, right?
Local, yeah. Well done, by the way.
Local, very sexy.
Right, we're still alive. Let's go get an iHub. Get out of the bubbles, guys. Get out of the bubbles. Get out of the bubbles.
Nice. Warming up again.
Bubbles coming down.
That was fucking sexy.